In the heart of 17th century Amsterdam, amidst the bustling canals and vibrant trade, lived a painter of extraordinary talent named Rembrandt van Rijn. He was renowned for his ability to capture the human spirit and emotion on canvas, and his studio was a place of constant artistic exploration and innovation. One of Rembrandt's remarkable works was Danae, a painting inspired by a mythological tale from ancient Greece. The story of Danae was one of passion, destiny, and divine intervention. To fully understand this painting, you need to know how and where it all started. Hold on, let me take you there. Zeus was, of course, the supreme deity of the Greek pantheon at the time, having overcome his father, Kronos. Zeus ruled the skies from his luxury suite on Mount Olympus, with his wife Hera constantly side-eyeing him from the throne next door. Now, Hera wasn't his first love. Oh no, she was actually wife number 3 after Themis, goddess of divine law, and Medusa, goddess of wisdom, which says a lot about Zeus's taste. First law, then wisdom, and finally, eternal marital drama. But marriage didn't exactly tame Zeus. The king of the gods had a wandering eye so active it probably had its own passport. If ancient Greece had tabloids, Zeus would have been on the cover every week. Sky Daddy caught flirting again, Hera furious. One of his most famous crushes was Danae, a princess of Argos, down on the sunny Peloponnesian Peninsula, basically the Beverly Hills of ancient Greece. Danae was the only daughter of King Acrisius and Queen Eurydice, and from the moment she hit adulthood, word spread fast. She was the most beautiful mortal woman of the time. We're talking so beautiful that even mirrors paused to admire her. Now, being king of Argos sounds great. Sunny weather, fancy sandals, free olives. But for King Acrisius, there was one major issue. He had no sons, just one daughter, Danae. And while Danae was brilliant, beautiful, and highly qualified, ancient Greek dads weren't exactly progressive. Acrisius needed a male heir to pass on the kingdom, not a daughter who could outsmart half the court. So what did he do? He did what any ancient Greek in a panic would do. He ran to the oracle. You know it's serious when royalty gets in line at the divine help desk. Now, pause for a moment. Who is this oracle that even kings take advice from like a terrified intern? Well, in ancient Greece, an oracle wasn't just someone with a spooky voice and a fog machine. Oracles were the VIP customer service reps of the gods. Think of them as the original Google, but with cryptic poetry and incense. You had a question about the future? You didn't guess. You asked an oracle. Through divine whispers, bird-watching, or squinting at goat guts, yes, really, they give you a prophecy. So, Acrisius steps into the oracle's office, hoping for some good news. Maybe a, don't worry, you'll have a bouncing baby boy and everything will be sunshine and chariots. Instead, the oracle delivers this bombshell. Yes, your daughter Danae will have a son, and that son will kill you. Talk about a plot twist. Acrisius came in asking for a future heir and left realizing he might get murdered at the family reunion. Naturally, his priorities did a total 180. Forget the who will inherit my throne question, now it was how do I avoid getting stabbed by my future grandson? There were many cruel kings told of in Greek mythology, but Acrisius was not numbered amongst those who considered filicide. Acrisius' solution was simple to ensure that Danae would not fall pregnant. Now, King Acrisius wasn't exactly a let's talk it out kind of dad. After hearing that his future grandson would one day kill him, he skipped over therapy and parenting books and went straight to imprison your daughter in a bronze fortress. And not just any fortress. Acrisius built a tower made entirely of bronze. No windows, no balcony, no tinder, just one heavily guarded door at the bottom. Soldiers stood watch 24/7, and the smooth metal walls made it impossible to climb. In short, Danae became the world's first luxury prisoner. Sure, she had food, fine clothes, probably a harp in the corner, but she was still stuck there, all because Dad couldn't handle a prophecy. Now, meanwhile, up on Mount Olympus, Zeus was doing what Zeus does best, peering into the mortal world like a godly gossip queen. He already knew about Danae's legendary beauty. Let's be honest, that news probably traveled faster than Hermes with a Red Bull. But when Zeus heard that this gorgeous mortal woman had been locked in a blinged-out bronze tower, that really got his attention. Because nothing says "do not enter" than a shiny fortress with bodyguards. And if there's one thing Zeus can't resist, it's a challenge. So, what does Zeus do? Flowers? A love letter? A polite request? Of course not. He goes full mythology. Zeus transforms himself into a literal golden rain cloud, not a metaphor, an actual shower of gold, and elegantly drips through the roof of the bronze tower like divine plumbing. Forget climbing walls or bribing guards, Zeus rains himself into Danae's bedroom. Because when you're king of the gods, why not break into someone's tower as sparkly weather? And thus, despite Acrisius' over-the-top security system, Zeus got in. Because bronze walls might stop men, but not horny thunder gods with a flair for the dramatic. So there Zeus was, golden, glowing, and dripping through the ceiling like the world's most glamorous leaky pipe. And once inside the bronze tower, he did what Zeus always does alone with a beautiful mortal. He turned on the charm. Let's be real, Zeus didn't come down as golden rain just to borrow a cup of ambrosia. That night, Zeus and Danae had a divine little moment, let's say. And since this is Greek mythology, where gods almost never leave empty-handed or empty-wombed, Danae soon found herself pregnant. Not your average oops, this was a full-blown Olympian surprise. Fast forward 9 months, and out comes a bouncing baby boy, Perseus. Now, this wasn't just any baby. This was half mortal, half god, a demigod deluxe. Born from a princess locked in a metal tower and a thunder god who literally fell from the sky in glittery liquid form. Basically, Perseus had the most dramatic origin story ever. Eat your heart out superhero franchises. So, Danae gave birth to a son inside her metal cage, officially making Acrisius the grandfather he was trying very hard not to be. And you can bet things were about to get very awkward at the next family gathering. Now, Acrisius had a new problem, a baby grandson. The baby grandson, the very one prophesied to kill him. Not ideal. It's one thing to fear your enemies, another to fear a drooling newborn in a crib. Naturally, the king panicked, and like any totally reasonable and emotionally stable ancient monarch, he started thinking, how do I make this tiny threat go away permanently? Now, in classic villain fashion, the obvious answer would be infanticide. But here's the thing, even Acrisius had limits. He considered killing the child, sure, but then he paused. Danae had been locked in a tower with no visitors, no contact, and somehow still had a baby, which meant, dun dun dun, this kid probably had a divine baby daddy. And if there's one thing you don't want to do in Greek mythology, it's murder a god's child. That's how you end up cursed, zapped, or turned into a goose for eternity. So, Acrisius thought, let's get creative. He ordered a large wooden chest, basically a deluxe coffin-shaped suitcase, popped Danae and baby Perseus inside, closed the lid, and yeeted it into the open sea. No blood on his hands, and with any luck, the waves would handle the rest. Either the sea would drown them, or drift them so far away they'd never be heard from again. Classic out of sight, out of prophecy logic. But here's the problem. When your baby mama is a favorite of Zeus, the ocean isn't exactly neutral territory. Zeus, as always, was keeping tabs, probably watching from Olympus with popcorn, and he wasn't about to let his shiny golden rain love child float into oblivion. So he called up his brother Poseidon, god of the sea and part-time nautical Uber driver, and made sure the chest had a smooth ride. With divine GPS fully activated, Danae and Perseus were gently carried across the Aegean and washed ashore on the island of Seriphos, sunbathed, peaceful, and conveniently distant from paranoid grandpas. Little did anyone know, this tiny sea-soaked baby was going to grow up to change the mythological world and probably make Acrisius really regret not just going with therapy. After that divine cruise across the Aegean Sea, Danae and baby Perseus washed ashore on the island of Seriphos, luckily not eaten by sea monsters, sea gods, or overly poetic dolphins. Instead, they were discovered by a humble fisherman named Dictys, who turned out to be the nicest guy in Greek mythology, which is saying a lot considering the competition. Dictys took them in, raised Perseus like a son, and gave Danae a safe home, which unfortunately came with one major drawback. Dictys was the brother of King Polydeuces, who was basically a mythological sleazebag with a crown. It didn't take long before Polydeuces heard about the beautiful woman living under his brother's roof. Naturally, being a Greek king, he decided to not be respectful. He tried to seduce Danae repeatedly, and just as repeatedly, Danae shut him down like a polite but firm HR department. Now, you'd think the rejections would eventually work. They didn't. Polydeuces just got more obsessed. But as Perseus grew older, taller, and more "I dare you to touch my mother" shaped, the king started getting the message. And that message was, don't mess with a demigod in training.
So Polydeuces, being the manipulative creep that he was, switched tactics. If he couldn't get to Danae with Perseus around, maybe he could get rid of Perseus altogether. So he came up with a brilliant idea. Send the guy on an impossible mission. You know, the classic, bring me the severed head of a monster that turns people to stone with her eyeballs type of errand. Totally normal. To sweeten the deal, Polydeuces claimed it was for a wedding present. He told Perseus he was planning to marry a noble woman named Hippodamia and needed just one little gorgon head as a gift. Perseus, being brave and noble and perhaps a little too trusting, agreed. After all, if Polydeuces got married, he'd finally leave Danae alone. Problem solved, right? Wrong. Perseus went off on his heroic journey, did the unthinkable, and actually found Medusa, defeated her with some help from gods, and cut off her terrifying snake-haired head. Success! When he returned to Seriphos, ready to deliver the ultimate wedding gift, he found a wedding in progress, but it wasn't between Polydeuces and Hippodamia. No, the Creep King had dropped the act and was now trying to force Danae into marrying him. Dictys was doing his best to protect her, but things were not looking good. Then Perseus did what any demigod with a magic bag and a decapitated monster head would do. He pulled out Medusa's head like a mythological mic drop. One look, poof, Polydeuces and all his royal yes-men were instantly turned into a very tasteful statue collection. Instant justice, ancient Greece style. With the villain stoned, literally, Danae was finally safe. Dictys was made king of Seriphos, and Perseus could now move on to bigger quests. After that incident, Danae traveled back to Argos, and at some point Perseus did accidentally kill Danae's father. Perseus made Dictys the new king of Seriphos. Perseus went on to rule Argos and became ancestor to many famous figures of Greek mythology. The story of Danae fades away though, although Virgil would state that it was Danae who founded this city of Ardea in Latinum. The death of Danae though was never recorded in the surviving sources. Rembrandt's painting depicted the moment when the god Zeus, drawn to Danae's beauty, descended upon her in the form of a shower of golden rain. Danae lay on her bed, her body bathed in the otherworldly glow of the divine rain. Her expression was a mixture of surprise, awe, and surrender, as she accepted the will of the gods. Rembrandt's interpretation of the myth went beyond the superficial allure of the story. He delved into the emotional and psychological aspects of Danae's experience. The painting was not just a portrayal of a mythological event, but also a reflection of human vulnerability and the acceptance of destiny. Throughout his career, Rembrandt had an uncanny ability to infuse his paintings with a deep sense of humanity. In Danae, he allowed viewers to connect with the emotions of the subject and ponder the themes of fate and desire. The painting transcended the boundaries of time and place, inviting viewers to contemplate their own relationship with destiny and the forces that shape their lives. Today, Danae by Rembrandt remains a masterpiece of both mythological art and psychological insight. It continues to captivate audiences with its exquisite technique and profound exploration of the human condition. Rembrandt's legacy endures, and Danae stands as a testament to his enduring ability to bring the stories of the past to life in a way that resonates deeply with the present. Before you disappear into another video or the void of your recommended feed, hey, if you had fun here, go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. We've got plenty more myths, madness, and more crazy stories behind great art on the way. Smash that like button, gently, like you're cradling a baby Gorgon. Drop a comment if you learned something new or just want to yell, "Zeus, chill," with the rest of us. It really helps us grow and lets the mighty algorithm know we're worth sharing with more curious minds like yours. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next mythological mess.